Welcome to the SalesWings Expert Interview Series with host Philip Schweitzer and Sercante CEO Andrea Tarrell.
I'm Philip Schweitzer. I'm the co-founder and CEO here at SalesWings. And today we have a very exciting guest with us, which is Andrea from Sercante. Hey, Andrea.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure, my pleasure. So Andrea is the founder and CEO of Sercante, which is a highly successful strategy-first, multi-cloud Salesforce consultancy, and not only known for their Salesforce expertise, but also very innovative marketing events like the Martech or the Spot for Pardot blog. Andrea is also an MVP. She's a Salesforce MVP, marketing champion. You're involved in the Girls Can Code initiative from Salesforce. You have a beautiful family with 2 daughters, and you have a dog called Murphy. So how do you do it, Andrea? How do you stay organized? And maybe just tell us a bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so you hit some of the high points. The business, the Salesforce community, my 2 daughters, my dog, my husband, they keep me very, very busy. We use Asana at Sercante for project management. And I definitely use that for my personal life as well. So just trying to keep track of all the to-do things in one spot.
You use Asana for your personal life?
I actually do, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, almost anything I need to do, whether it's like grocery shopping, like organizing something in the house, like it becomes an Asana task, and I manage it just with all my other work tasks.
That's very clever. So you managed to get your husband as well to use Asana, or are you doing that for both of you?
My husband is actually the kind of person who he doesn't really have like long-term to-do lists. If you put something on a list for him, like he will go do it. He'll drop everything he's doing and like go do it right then.
Nice.
So I create lists for him in Notepad and iPhone and just share them with him. And then next thing I know, like the list is completed. It works very well for us.
Magic. Oh, that's great. Okay. Yeah, so I'm still with a shopping list that I'm sharing with my wife. That's working really well. But yeah, so, okay, interesting. Now let's maybe talk a little bit about your Salesforce journey. So if I'm not mistaken, it was 2011 that you were first time at Dreamforce. And shortly thereafter, you implemented Pardot at the insurance company H&I Risk. So was it love at first lead, or how are you still here and more invested than ever in the Salesforce ecosystem?
Yeah, it was 2011 was a great time for the ecosystem. It was, Salesforce, it had been around for 12 years, but it was still like in the early days of getting traction. And I remember our VP of sales at the time came to me and he said, hey, we have this thing called Salesforce. We're not really sure what we can do with it. It's just on like one of our guys' credit cards, and like everybody like has a license now, everybody's an admin, and we need to like get this under control. So like if you can learn how to fix this and how to make this work for us, like we'll send you to Dreamforce to get training. And at the time I was like, I don't know what CRM is, but send me to San Francisco, free trip to San Francisco. Absolutely. So
yeah, went
to Dreamforce, not really knowing what to expect, and just like totally drank the Salesforce Kool-Aid in a big way. At the time we were on HubSpot, but evaluating email marketing platforms, because at the time HubSpot barely even had email marketing. It was very early days for that. And so I was looking at email marketing tools was sort of my frame of reference. And I'd actually never even heard the term marketing automation, but went to Dreamforce. Marketo was a huge sponsor that year, learned about Pardot, and then came back to the office and did a formal evaluation, just said, okay, like we need to really think about how email and how marketing can be integrated with what the sales team is doing so that it's a seamless customer journey. Like we're not like operating in 2 silos. We're all getting it done together. Which at the time, now it seems so obvious that like that should all be connected and like integrated system or one system. But at the time, like that wasn't how we had been thinking about it. So yeah, implemented in Pardot in 2011, and then it's become a huge part of what I do all day, every day.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I remember when I joined my first job in a SaaS company, which was also 2012 actually, we were also evaluating, so there was the Salesforce CRM in place, and we were looking at HubSpot and Pardot, and I think it was relatively early days for both. We did go with a Pardot as well. I believe HubSpot didn't have their own CRM at the time either. But yeah, it's true. It was amazing, right? You could all of a sudden automate emails. You didn't have to follow up, go from this monthly newsletter to kind of a bit of an experience, right? But part of it has come a long way. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. So you then joined the Top Floor, which was a full-service digital marketing agency. Was that when you had the first time the idea, well, maybe I'll do that one day and maybe a little bit different?
Yeah, it was so Top Floor, they were very web and like SEM centric. And they were looking at expanding, like doing more content marketing with their clients, doing more email marketing, things that were driving leads to Salesforce. And what I started noticing in that role was, I mean, Top Floor ran amazing campaigns for their clients. Were great at like tracking goals in Google Analytics and saying like, okay, we drove X leads from this campaign. But they didn't really cross over into the Salesforce side of the world very often. So when a customer was saying, okay, well, those 10 leads that you drove, like what happened to them? Like, did they turn into opportunities? Like, what was like the ROI dollar per dollar for like what we executed on our website or with our digital ad campaigns? And so that kind of stood out to me as just a gap, like looking for sort of that connected experience between the marketing tech and the sales side. And then the next role after that was I worked at Configuro, which is a Salesforce consultancy based here in Atlanta. And they had the opposite issue where all things Salesforce, they were amazing at, like business process. They knew exactly how to talk about that with their customers. But when the marketing teams that they were implementing Pardot and Marketing Cloud for, when they said, what types of campaigns should I run? Or how should I think about lead scoring? That sort of advisory and strategy and speaking the language of marketers also wasn't really their wheelhouse. So sort of what Top Floor and Configuro showed me was there's a hole in the market between like how agencies think about things and how Salesforce and tech consultants think about things. And the magic really lies in being able to deliver strategy, technology, creative, execution, and then analytics at the end. So kind of the full range of service around what the CMO or what the CRO needs to get the job done.
Yeah. Yeah. And we often, when we talk about transformation, we talk about tech, but the agencies themselves definitely have gone and go still through a big transformation, right? So you think about branding agencies in the 90s, or you think about, I mean, Mad Men, right? Like going in a room and so on. But then it's interesting what you're saying, because I think there probably still is today, and it shouldn't, somehow a bit of a split between more technical agencies, maybe running campaigns, but configuration, and then you have more kind of digital strategy firms. And that leads me to a question. So Sercante. So by the way, great rebrand.
Thank you. Brand new.
Great rebrand. Yeah, and I really like it. And so you mentioned often, of course, this strategy first approach. So tell us a bit about Sercante and what you feel, how do you do things different than others? So you've touched upon a couple of things, but tell us about the DNA in Sercante that made you so successful.
Yeah, I think a few things that are part of our culture and DNA that are just core to who we are and are going to continue to serve us in the future is we are passionate about technology, but more than anything, we're passionate about solving problems for customers and learning what the best way is to do that. So not walking in with assumptions about, okay, this worked this way for XYZ client, so we're just going to make a square peg fit a round hole here. But looking at like, okay, let's understand what you're trying to do at a business level, and then backing up and saying, okay, what are the right tools to fit that? And as I'm sure you guys run into all the time, like the tech landscape is evolving every day. Like platforms are coming out with new features, new platforms are being launched. And so there's definitely an art of like seeing around the corner as to like what's the next tool that's going to help us execute work for customers, and that's a big part of who we are. So I'd say the passion for technology, but also the passion for learning are kind of two pieces of our DNA that are really important to us.
Yeah. Yeah, and staying up to date is a challenge, right? So on the one hand, of course, you have the way the buyers buy, so that is evolving, the technological capabilities and all of that. So how do we have to picture this? So a new client comes, wants to meet you. Do you start with an initial session, you send them some questionnaire, or how does that process look like from somebody coming with a problem towards, let's say, go live? So can you give us a bit of an insight how you approach this?
Yeah, so I would say when customers reach out to us, they usually fall into one of two camps. Camp one, they know exactly what problem they're trying to solve. They've kind of thought through their whole process, and they're like, okay, this is the piece that I need outside support to plug into. So they come to us and they say, can you do X, Y, Z? So we're proposing, okay, here's how we can meet X, Y, Z, but also tell us about the rest of the alphabet so that we can like make sure that we're fitting into the big picture and understanding the impact that we're trying to drive. The second type of customer comes to us and they say, I don't know what I need you to work on. I just know that this thing isn't working for me. And so what we'll frequently do in that scenario is some sort of an audit. So getting hands-on with what they've already built, what they're already seeing results-wise, what they're trying, and asking just tons of questions about what are you trying to accomplish? What have you tried so far? What isn't working from your perspective? What do you like? And then we'll usually come back to them with a report of, okay, here's how we see the current state. Like, here's what's working well, here's what's not working, here are gaps that we think you should be addressing, and here are either projects to take on, tools to adopt, like things that will help you bridge that gap.
Okay. And if you think about, some of the, or a lot of these projects that you've done, where do you feel most of the challenges come from, or most of the pain points? So as it relates also to marketing tech, do you feel in many situations the wrong solution was chosen? Do you feel it's more that the solution is just used in the wrong way, or it's maybe a subject matter expertise problem on the customer side, that they maybe just didn't, just lack some complementary skill set that you're bringing in? Or what are your thoughts? Because obviously there's certain consultants out there, or people, the first reaction when there's a challenge is, well, we need another tool, right? But the tool is usually not the problem. I mean, it can be, but
100% aligned with you.
What do you think?
Yeah, I would say 9.5 times out of 10, it's not the tool. It's the way the tool is being used or the business process that's missing for the tool to really live up to its full potential. We hear a lot about like failed implementations, like customers who will come to us and they'll say like, oh, we had a failed implementation of HubSpot, or we've had a failed implementation of whatever platform. And then you dig into it and it's like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this implementation. Like from a technical perspective, it's configured correctly. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. You're just not using it. Like your teams aren't logging in and interacting with it. You aren't building things on it. Like you're not using the tool. And so a lot of times people will want to change platforms as the answer to that, when that's not really the problem. So we frequently guide folks through that discussion of like, let's start here, like see what you can do to get value out of your current tool, and before considering switching. And sometimes customers end up switching anyway, because optically or for politics internally, it's a better look to say, okay, we brought in a brand new platform, we brought in a brand new consultant, and the future is going to be different than what we've seen in the past. But yeah, to your point, it's usually not the tool itself.
Yeah. I mean, I see the same thing, right? I mean, as you said, like sometimes there's something lacking, which is obviously why often then they come to us. But it feels a bit like at times also when you kind of get in that new tool, yeah, you can start from scratch, right? And that's maybe something that's not so trivial when you're heavy invested into an existing platform. You just say, okay, we're just going to get everything out and start over. But indeed, I think strategy first, right? Like when you choose your platform, and some marketers have that chance, there is a green, how do you say, green slate, and you can get going. So that's, I guess, the dream of every marketer. Now talking about tools, so Marketing Cloud growth. Marketing Cloud growth has arrived. So we've heard for many years different rumors. Pardot's going to die. It's all going to go to Marketing Cloud. What's coming next? And Salesforce has gone from kind of 0 to 2 to 3 platforms now. So definitely a difficult time for a Salesforce account executive now. What are we going to be positioning? But well, so who is Marketing Cloud Growth Edition for? Tell us about your insights. And I know you were also involved in the definition of that vision as your role as the part of the advisory board. So who is it for today, and where is it going?
Yeah, so when I think about Marketing Cloud growth, what it sort of means to me, and what I think it means to some longtime Salesforce customers, is Salesforce is finally putting its money where its mouth is. Its mouth has been when they talk about like a single shared, like no integration needed, one platform vision for sales and marketing. And I'd say, I mean, since Pardot was acquired by Salesforce, a lot of Pardot customers have kind of been beating the drum of like Pardot on platform, like closer integration with core, and a lot of the new features that have come out like are built like in Sales Cloud. So for Pardot customers to take advantage of them, they need to be able to log into Sales Cloud. Customers were pushed to enable SSO in recent years, so that there's a single login between Sales Cloud and Pardot. So this, to me, is sort of the culmination of that movement of aligning the tools better together on core. So to answer your question about who is Marketing Cloud growth for, the initial audience that this is intended to serve is the SMB and mid-market customer, particularly folks that are either new to marketing automation completely or who are new to marketing automation on Salesforce. So it's native to core, it's built on top of Data Cloud. The builder experience is built on Experience Cloud, which is part of core. And so it's a great place to start if you're just building marketing on the Salesforce platform. It's not ready for customers to switch to. And I think the way folks have been thinking about switching is, I think Salesforce is going to challenge some of our assumptions around that, because a lot of what we're hearing about how Salesforce is thinking about the roadmap and the future for Marketing Cloud customers and Pardot customers is that they won't have to switch at all. Like they're going to be grandfathered into new features and just get access to new tools as part of their existing agreement with Salesforce, and just gradually start adopting like some of these new features that are core to Marketing Cloud growth.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I do remember when I was at Dreamforce. I can't remember when exactly, 2018 probably, when Salesforce just had gone through that migration from Pardot onto the Sales Cloud, as you say, part of it, which was a big move. Now you have Marketing Cloud, so exact target, which is not built that way, but also it does not require Sales Cloud. So of course, Pardot requires Sales Cloud today, and of course, Marketing Cloud growth will. So the assumption, of course, is that the Pardot customers are likely going to be the first ones that will benefit from some of those features. I'm wondering, well, how does that look for Marketing Cloud engagement customers? So these exact target customers, how will they be able to benefit from some of those new functionality coming in? So of course you have Data Cloud, right? So you have a growing number of Marketing Cloud customers that go onto the Data Cloud. So there's that, great integration with Marketing Cloud engagement. But so for Pardot, I'm more clear. But for Marketing Cloud, how do you see that? Do you see that more like staying the top level enterprise platform and then everything else will be more below, or do you see eventually exact target customers moving over? And bear in mind, as you know,
Yeah.
not everybody has Sales Cloud today, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you that the path for Pardot customers seems a little more obvious. I mean, there's still like things that need to be figured out, but because of the shared infrastructure, it's going to be easier for Pardot customers to just kind of switch new things on and just gradually migrate into the new way of working. That isn't true today for Marketing Cloud engagement customers because the infrastructure is so different. But I think what we will see is Salesforce working really hard to make it attractive to start adopting pieces of Marketing Cloud growth. So doing behind the scenes work to make the process of switching as smooth as possible. I don't have a crystal ball, but if I was predicting the future of like can Marketing Cloud exist without Sales Cloud, I think we are going to see a convergence of those like the licensing around that. So obviously not expecting all Marketing Cloud customers who may or may not need a CRM to implement a full-blown CRM, but single like login experience, like shared licensing structure, I could see being in the future. But again, I don't have a crystal ball, and I think that there's a lot of different ways Salesforce could go with this, but I think the themes that we're going to see is they're going to make it a carrot and not a stick to adopt like some of the new features that are out here, and less of like a lift and shift migration kind of effort and more of a just transformation of your business and like turning on new things that are going to add value along the way.
Right. Yeah, it's we don't have a crystal ball, right? So we won't see. One thing I'm wondering also, so obviously the kind of the backbone of the data, so data cloud and that metadata layer is going to be the base. So does that mean that somebody that wants to adopt Marketing Cloud growth would have to invest also in data cloud, or is data cloud actually more of the used in the background to then enable that real-time engagement and personalization, all of that?
So the latter, data cloud being used in the background, I think is going to be the case for a lot of, especially the early customers on Marketing Cloud growth. So our team has gone through the setup process, like how the org is provisioned, like click by click what you need to do. And the data cloud does have to be enabled for Marketing Cloud growth to work. But for the most part, for users, it's happening in the background. It is the engine for segmentation. So the interface that users are interacting with does connect to Data Cloud, but to the average marketer, it's just going to feel like they're working in their existing marketing automation tool, not that they're in Data Cloud and then they're in marketing or like doing any kind of switching. Just sort of a seamless experience with the shared infrastructure and shared metadata of Data Cloud as the base of that.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, so it's there are a lot of open questions as well. So we'll let the Salesforce answer some of them, including pricing. So how's pricing going to be looking? Now Salesforce has also a rich ecosystem of ISV partners. So we're one of them. SalesWings is 4 times certified ISV, a Salesforce certified ISV partner. And Salesforce has led, before people were talking about the composable stack, a little bit this initiative with the App Exchange, a great core platform, and then you add flexible, ISVs for to fine-tune your process and get some more, best-in-breed functionality in. So with maybe Marketing Cloud going away, and then possibly Pardot's going away, where do you see opportunity for ISVs in the future? More Data Cloud? Do you see already some obvious use cases for Marketing Cloud growth, or what is your what do you think of that? So you obviously have a lot of experience working with ISVs. How does that fit in?
Yeah. So before I answer that, I would like strike the term like going away for Marketing Cloud and Pardot. Like I don't think either of those platforms are going away. I see it as more of like they're like growing up as a platform versus like going away, because the customer bases are going to stay are going to likely stay on Salesforce, and just the feature set and the day-to-day experience working in the tool is going to evolve. So growing up is the term that I kind of like apply to that mentally. But I think that the focus on Marketing Cloud growth does open a lot of opportunity for the ISV ecosystem, because to get to the vision of like all marketers on a single platform, whether they're SMB, enterprise, B2C, B2B, there's so much development work and so much infrastructure that needs to be built to enable that. So I think what we are going to see is Salesforce is going to have to pick a few things to focus on, like pick the things that are most important to all of their customers and put their eggs in that basket to develop. But pockets of opportunity where it's like, okay, some customers care about XYZ feature or this particular integration. There's going to be a need for partners to support some of those types of use cases.
Mm-hmm.
And with UMA being on core, I mean, all of Salesforce's like regular packaging tools, the App Exchange, like all of the things that have been open to ISVs that are more focused on core, those are now open to the Marketing Cloud partners as well, which is really exciting.
Which is exciting. No, absolutely, absolutely. No, great. So SalesWings has something also. We're working on something there, so look forward to that. Now let's talk about AI. So we cannot have a conversation without talking about AI these days. So you were at Dreamforce last year, and you had a fireside chat at the Qualified B2B Marketers Lounge, talking about some of these trends and predictions. Now, where do you see is AI heading to? What are maybe some of the early adoptions where you say, you know, if you as a marketer haven't done that yet, that's a quick win for you. But also, where is it going? So I wouldn't say there is a panic or general fear, but there's that sort of concern. Well, I have these skill sets. Is AI able to replace that? And now, obviously, Marketing Cloud growth is, I guess, we can say AI first. So it's writing campaign briefs for you. It's, you know, it brings you email templates. But so, what is your point of view about AI today? You know, where are we going here?
So my answer to this question today is a lot different than it was like even 90 days ago, but I have officially boarded the AI bandwagon. But for the last year, I've been listening to headlines, like reading things about like AI, listening to Mark Benioff talk about AI. And honestly, I've been pretty skeptical about it because like just in my personal life and personal experience, like I've been able to use things like meeting recorders and transcribers, like ChatGPT to like help me summarize information or like write basic emails, like the predictive text in Gmail. But all of the AI tools that I personally have benefited from have felt like sort of disjointed like point solutions where it's like it's solving like a tiny problem. It's not like helping do any heavy lifting or anything like big and meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
But thinking about and like seeing demos of like, okay, the art of the possible around AI, it's like, okay, so AI helps you determine like what segment of your audience hasn't been contacted, and it helps determine the next best offer, and it dynamically pulls in product information, and it knows who's most likely to engage, and it writes your email, and it writes your campaign brief, and then it analyzes all the results for you afterwards, and it sends it at the perfect time. And it just when I see demos like that, I've been just full skeptic view of that, because
it's a
having
vision,
worked with
right?
hundreds of customers on the platform, it's like, whose data is that organized? Like, who is their product database integrated in a way where you can just like boop, 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 populate an email from it?
Yeah.
There's so many gaps to getting like from where we are today to like that shiny vision of the future. But
Right.
seeing what's coming with Marketing Cloud growth and the idea that we can all be on like the same shared data, like same infrastructure, all these pieces connected, I'm starting to like see the vision for that. So I am pretty bullish on AI, but I do think that there's a lot of work that it's going to take to really make that impactful for marketers. And definitely think that all of our jobs for the next decade, a big piece of that is going to be figuring out, yeah, how we can make AI work for us and how we can make that vision real. So I'm really excited about that next chapter.
I'm as well, and I think many people were kind of skeptical when they heard about OpenAI. I mean, that was honestly probably the thing when even your aunt would ask about it or whatnot. But we've all used Siri in the past, and it still doesn't work for me. And then Salesforce Einstein, was announced. Can't remember, probably 6-7 years ago. Mixed experiences, I would say, that I hear in the space, but now it's still kind of fundamentally changed. But I'm wondering to what extent some of our legacy challenges are going to be influencing AI developments. So starting with data hygiene. So data hygiene is a problem that's been around for forever, and it still doesn't seem to be solved, right? So these kind of things. So to what extent is are we ready for AI to work with us, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. But what about Sercante? So did you hire your first chief prompt officer or something, or how do you enable your team to adopt AI? Because you need them to adopt AI, right?
Yeah, and I will also say that when we've been talking to our customers about AI, and when our customers come to us with questions about AI, we often ask them like, okay, what does that mean for your business? Like in a perfect world, like what would you have AI automate or streamline for you? And some of the things that they'll describe sometimes, it's like, we can do that on the platform today. Like, let's go build that. Like we know how to solve that problem for you. So in a lot of ways, I feel like our team is enabled on like what a lot of the general population would consider to be AI. But for some of the more like emerging tech, what I'd say is we're encouraging everybody to experiment. So try tools, report back on what's working for you. Certainly keeping everybody up to date on Salesforce's roadmap for AI and trying to get as hands-on as possible with what they're coming out with as quickly as we can. And then internally, we use a platform called Guru for knowledge management. And they just came out with an AI feature where it actually like picks up questions from Slack and tries to answer it based on your knowledge repository. And we're actually kind of shocked by how good it is. Sometimes it makes stuff up,
Yeah.
but for the most part, it does like point people in the right direction. So we're seeing some early benefits from just how we're working internally by leveraging AI tools.
Yeah, it's the same thing with us. And I think it's really about exploring, right? Trying out. So the way I use ChatGPT, for example, today, so I use ChatGPT, I do use Gemini for certain other things, is really evolving. And it's very interesting. There was this time where I was trying some stuff, starting with write a song about SalesWings. Then I started to use it for my work. And now it's kind of evolving. I feel I'm less of an amateur, and I kind of get it to do what I want it to do. But yeah, fully agree with you. I think trying things out is key. And I guess the message for the audience, I think everybody's a bit overwhelmed. It's okay not to be. It's okay not to be the leadership, the leader of knowledge in AI. But yeah, so listen, time is flying. I also like to ask my interview partners a little bit about their tips. So we have, audiences are always inspired by people like you who, build something, who create something, and how they got there. And I'm sure you've made tons of mistakes. So I have. But if you had some tips for, people who maybe want to do something similar or in their domain or what, as an entrepreneur, what are the things maybe you wish you would have known 10 years ago?
Yeah, I guess one thing that I wish someone would have told me before I became an entrepreneur is like, just do it. Like you're never gonna feel totally ready. And I honestly think this applies to a lot of different areas of life, but like things that you're uncertain about or things that you're nervous about, like this also applies to adopting new technology. Like just try it, because the costs of failure we often over exaggerate those in our head, and like what we need to be quote unquote ready, we over exaggerate those as well. So just forcing yourself to take action, try it, like make the leap. Like that's what I wish somebody would have told me earlier.
Yeah, it's true. And get insurance, right? So then if something's not working, then you're insured. That's the Swiss, that's the Swiss mentality too. Okay. Well, great. Hey, this was a great chat. Thank you so much. Will I see you at Connections this year?
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
All right. So I look forward to that. So thanks as well to the audience for joining us here, and wish everybody a fantastic day and week, and excited for what's coming within Salesforce and all around it. So thanks, Andrea, and have a great day.